Well, Governor Perry, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're keeping a busy schedule, but looks like you had quite a turnout yesterday.
Yeah, we did. It's not hard to get a big crowd at a gun store today in America, and Texas is certainly it's a great draw. So it was fun to be there with Chris Cox and all my Second Amendment and NRA supporters. So a big day for my campaign, obviously, to be endorsed by the National Rifle Association and the Texas State Rifle Association. So two really fine groups that do more to protect our Second Amendment than any place, anybody, anywhere.
And, I was talking with the owner of the shop yesterday, and he said there were so many people there talking about you and the fact that, when it comes to the Second Amendment, this has nothing to do with politics. You are a true believer. You're a gun owner. You love to hunt. In fact, you were just talking about dove season.
Well, it's true, and this really is one of those issues that there are a lot of folks who may go vote historically Democrat. They've, for whatever reason. But when it comes down, for instance, I grew up in a very rural part of the state, and I never met a Republican until I was probably in my late 20s, and then I became a Republican watching Ronald Reagan and watching our country take away freedoms, and one of them is the effort by the Democrat Party to allow these anti-gun folks to have a forum in the Democrat Party, particularly at the national level. So folks who, you ask them, are you, what's your political party? They may say Democrat, but when it comes to the Second Amendment, they know who is going to stand up for their Second Amendment rights. And mine's not just rhetoric. We've done it.
Yep.
For instance, we passed the Castle Doctrine bill in Texas that allows our citizens to defend themselves when they're threatened in their homes. The individual right to carry a handgun in a motor vehicle. I signed that bill into law. We ended the prohibition. A lot of these cities and counties had prevented our CHL holders from carrying on public property, and we passed that back in 2003. When I came in as governor, I think there were 7 states that had reciprocal or unilateral agreements with Texas where we could carry in their state and vice versa. We got it up to 42 other states now. So, look, I believe an individual ought to be able to carry their weapon. If you're a CHL licensed official handgun carrier, you ought to be able to carry your weapon anywhere.
Got to ask you, do you see this being a big issue in your campaign against Bill White?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is truly a black and white issue. If you get down to it, there is no gray between the candidates. I mean, Bill White was a member of a group called Mayors Against Illegal Guns, which made considerable efforts to defeat measures to strengthen gun rights. For example, his group that he belonged to, they were in direct opposition to the T-Heart.
I know, because we've talked all about it with Bloomberg leading that, like you said, that coalition. Absolutely.
And now, that's the type of individual that this is a guy that didn't know the difference between a shotgun and a rifle. Seriously, I know that sounds almost like a comedy stand-up line, but the fact is, he didn't know the difference between he's not a pro Second Amendment guy by any sense of imagination. As a matter of fact, Chris Cox talked about it at length yesterday at the endorsement, that this one was an easy decision to make, and they don't hand out A+ ratings without having them be earned.
Well, and there's no question you have earned it, but I guess you got a good laugh yesterday from the crowd when you were talking about last spring out there jogging using your laser-sighted pistol to take down a coyote.
I tell people, I said, listen, I'm a huge believer and have studied the United States Constitution, particularly over the last 18 months as Tea Parties have cropped up all over the country. One of the things that I tip my hat to them for often, outside of just, their great effort to fight this administration and the huge amount of debt that this administration and Congress is putting on the future generations. But the Bill of Rights, I tell folks, I said, listen, sometimes I'm kind of hard pressed to tell people which one of these is my favorite. I mean, here I am with the First Amendment, being able to speak my piece and talk about whatever I want, and then the Second Amendment allows me to protect my family's pets when I go out running.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, but you're a big fan, aren't you, of the laser-sighted firearm?
Yeah, I really am. As a matter of fact, in a very serious note, I tell people, I said, if you don't get the opportunity to practice with your weapon as much as you'd like, that laser is a great addition. My daughter, she's got a little Ruger LCP. It's got a Crimson Trace laser on it. She doesn't get that chance to go down to the range to shoot that much. She lives in town, and my son has one. It is a very, very good tool. That I mean, even when you need that weapon and everything's going down, the having that laser is a great comfort. And I'm standing out there about 17 yards from this coyote that's fixing to take on the young pup that I'm running with, or I think he is. I mean, he stopped and he's all bowed up, and I'm not going to take a chance of having to explain to my daughter why I let her young Labrador Retriever puppy get chewed up by a coyote. So, and there's no telling how many little dogs and cats these things, here in the edge of town in Austin, Texas. So anyway, it looked to me like that part of the road needed a little mulch anyway.
But I got to ask before I let you go, because when you're out there campaigning, are people talking to you about their concerns about where our firearm freedoms are headed, and the fact that they see this election as very important?
Particularly with this administration and this Congress, when you got Nancy Pelosi in there, I mean, an anti-Second Amendment person, if there's ever been one, heading up the United States House of Representatives, people understand how important, both on fiscal issues and our rights.
Yes.
They see the federal government continuing to erode our rights. I mean, the 10th Amendment is so important. I tell people, I said, frankly, that's my favorite amendment. The 10th Amendment, because basically it was put there to confirm that the states were the sovereign units of government. Actually, the federal government was created by the states to be agent for the states instead the other way around. And for 60-plus years, we've seen our rights being eroded a little at a time, and this administration has taken it to some new heights. And we've got to win back Congress. If we don't win, frankly, I hope we win the Senate as well. And we got a shot at both of them. If people will really stay focused over the next 46 days, if they'll go support these candidates that are fiscal conservatives and strong believers in our Constitution and the Bill of Rights, then we can take our country back. If you're kind of non-committal, or if you don't care, I hope you have an epiphany before the 2nd of November, because this is the most important election in my lifetime, and I'm 60 years old.
Well, I'll tell you, it sounds like you're in great shape. You're running for a third term, and I know, talking to the folks down there yesterday, they're going to do everything they can to keep you right where you are, because we need you, buddy.
Thanks. And we'll do everything. Nobody will outwork us, and frankly, we got the right issues. Texas is, we got our challenges with this national, international recession that's going on, but Texas is so much better than any other state from a economic standpoint, and frankly, we want Texas, and that's why the 10th Amendment, again, is so important. Let the states and the people in those states decide what's best for them, instead of this one-size-fits-all federal statist type of concept that we see coming out of Washington, D.C. And I'll tell you what, Texans are fighters. We always have been, and we're going to work mighty hard to make sure that the federal government doesn't come down here and try to take over Texas.